to this. Oops. Back to this. Oops, silence. Oops, there we go. Okay, we are on exercise number 7. Is that correct?
Mm-hmm.
Does that sound right to everybody?
Yep.
Okay. And I was going to ask Peggy to read that, but we will.
She can read it. What do you mean by it?
She was busy texting there, so I didn't know.
She's in class right now.
Yeah. All right. Hecatos. Oh gosh. Humon, Legai, Egomen, Imi, Palu, Ego de, Apollo, Ego de. I'm going to say Kefa, Ego de Christu.
Okay. And the first word, it's
Hekastos.
There you go. There you go. You caught it. Okay. So Hekastos, each, and with humon being the genitive, each of you says, and then ego, men, imi. So
okay,
then,
hold on. Let's go back to that.
okay.
Each of you seems plural to me. And then legai is singular.
Is singular. But Hekastos is singular, and legai is singular. So they agree. Humon, in this case, when we're looking at this here, this, for those who are looking online, that word humon is genitive plural. This is when you move in a little bit advanced genitive. We call that a partitive genitive. And what that means, if we were to, another way of translating that, we just say each of you. We get that. That's not a problem for us. But probably a stricter rendering was each from you. So there's a plural you, but each one from you as a group. That's why we would call it probably like a partitive genitive. So each, we have several times that we have.
So each one of you, he says, that makes more sense.
Right. Yeah. So each one from you, or part of the you as a group, he says, yeah. And then we have, in here, we have our examples of our men da, because we have a men, and then we have another da, and a da, and a da, which should be one says this, and then again this says this, and again this says this, and again this says this. So ego, I, me would be I on my part, I'm of Paul. I, again, I have verbalist clause. I am of Paulus. I am of Cephas. I am of Christ. So I am of Christ, yes, in that last case. So we have two that are genitives, Paulu and Christu, that are genitive. I'm, in other words, I'm from them. I'm part of that group, we might say. Again, using those kind of as a partitive. I'm part of that group. However, Apollos and Cephas are both lid. So we probably, in those, if we were going to be really literal, we'd probably say, I am for Apollos, or I am for Cephas. But the first one, Paul and Christ, are both, I'm part of their group.
I did not spend enough time looking at this.
Or I'm even thinking this last week, and we had the Super Bowl, and it could say, I'm a Chiefs fan, Buccaneers fan, and the person could say, so I'm of Paul, that I'm with Paul. They could use the genitive, and I'm with Christ in that sense. So there's some different ways of handling the genitives in those two cases. Question A under there, is Hekastos in the attributive, predicative, or substantive use?
I don't know.
It's substantive. It's functioning.
As a noun.
It's functioning as the noun for the verb. So that's why we translate each says. Okay.
So I went back. I went back to try and to look at the way that each of those works, and it just I couldn't come to that based
Okay.
on what we learned.
Okay. Remember, if it's going to be attributive, then it's going to be describing somebody.
Yep.
And so we'd have to come to this and we'd have to say, well, who's it describing when we have hekastos? And
Yeah.
the only thing it'd be describing would be the subject pronoun of the verb legai. And so then we're back to, and predicative doesn't work because it's not, we don't have something being said about that person further describing it. It's not saying you are
Right.
each. Okay, so predicative is out. Substantive then allows it to function as a noun, and that's really the way we translate. We say each says. Okay, does that make sense? Each one says.
It does make sense. I just like rules, and the only examples that they gave us of substantive use had definite articles, and so I wanted there to be.
Yeah, so we'd have to go back and look at this, but in the workbook itself, it's introduced some examples where we've had adjectives that are substantival that do not have definite articles to show us that we are going to run into that at times. So,
We have to make closer attention.
yeah. I mean, I think somebody has said the purpose of rules is to give something for you to break.
Oh.
And this is another thing that you learn when you learn Greek, at least I've heard this, is that you learn rules and then the rules are easy. It's learning all the exceptions to the rules.
Right.
Those are the challenge. And English is loaded with exceptions to the rules.
Right.
Yeah, because English is such a conglomerate language. So we're going to parse the verb I, me. For those online, we have a visitor with us today who is 10 weeks now, almost 10 weeks, and is a dog, a puppy.
And is a dog. Is a dog.
Just so you don't think that there's a 10-week-old baby in
That's a
here.
dog.
Okay, so we're going to parse I, me. Part of speech is a verb. The subject is I. The stem is I, me. The tense is present. There's no voice for to be or state of being verbs. The mood is indicative. The person is first person. The number is singular. And the lexical form is what we have here. I, me. Okay.
So the stem is I, me. Which is what we're.
Well, probably just I. I did that wrong. Now that I say it, stem
Yeah.
should be I, and the me ending is actually. So I messed that one up. Okay.
I'm gonna go with that, but then I'm gonna be confused when we get down to the same question on number 8, because it comes from. Then we're parsing este, and it comes from the same word. So is the stem going to also be I, because the lexical form is I, me?
No, the stem's going to be S
Yes.
down there. Okay, because remember the stem has to do with what's that part of the word that the ending's being added to.
I, me then is a me verb.
There.
It's not a word of its own all by itself.
Right, because it's, yeah.
Okay, I got you. I'm
Okay.
with you. We're together now.
Okay. Now, why are there no verbs in the phrases, the last ones, ego de Apollo, ego de Kepha, ego de Christu?
So it's understood in context.
Okay. The verbless clauses, because the verb is understood. Very good. Okay, number 8. Robin.
Prophetai to theou este kai angeloi agapes. You are prophets of God and messengers of
Okay, very good.
What role do prophetai and angeloi play in relation to este? So I put that they are predicate nominative or predicate complements.
Okay. I use the word complements, but predicate nominative is acceptable alternative.
Why are these two nouns not in the accusative case? Because they have to be the nominative in this instance.
Mm-hmm. Yes,
When we use them like this, they can't be.
that's right.
Okay, parts este. So part of speech is a verb, subject is y'all, stem is s, tense, present, no voice, indicative mood, second person, plural, and the lexical form is I mean.
Okay.
Locate agapes. It is a noun. Its function in the sentence is, well, I said predicate complement, or the object of este. Are those both right answers?
Mm,
Is one of them wrong?
no.
Or both of them wrong?
So give me your answers again, just to make sure.
Predicate complement.
That's not right.
Okay.
And what was the other answer?
Este, hold on. Hold, please. Agapes. I said, or the object of something. Let me go back to the sentence. Hold, please.
Mhm.
Its function in the sentence, agapes, is an adjective that modifies, no, agapes is a genitive noun, right?
That's right. And what's one of the chief uses of the genitive?
To denote ownership.
That's one way. It's, you actually said it just a moment ago, so I thought you had. I thought it does.
It functions as an adjective.
Yeah, it functions to describe. And when you
Holy Moses.
when you indicate ownership, ownership is a way of describing something. It's not just anybody's. It's mine.
You're right.
It's yours.
Okay.
So the function
In the
adjective to
sentence.
show ownership.
It doesn't. It's not showing ownership. I was just saying
What's
which
an adjective
it's just
what?
modifying.
modifying
Angle.
angle.
Ingloy. Yes. Yeah. So your messengers related to love we don't have enough information in the sentence to tell us exactly how, whether they're messengers that are communicating love, whether they're messengers that are characterized by love. We don't know that.
All right. It's in the nominative case. It is not. Agapes. Dear Lord. It's in the genitive case. It's, I went too fast. It's plural.
But-
Feminine.
But it's not.
Dang it.
What? It's not what?
It's singular. Because remember, if it's genitive plural always has the same ending, no matter what.
Right.
It's always
it would be
owned.
owned.
Yeah.
Well, I was making it something else altogether. I did go too fast. Okay.
The
hold
genitive
on, Tim.
plural, no matter what gender, it's always owned. That's always the ending on genitive plurals. First declension, second declension, masculine, singular, or masculine, neuter, or feminine.
Okay, it's feminine.
Mhm.
I got that one right. Holy cow. Oh my gosh, I really went way too fast when I was doing this one. Declension first. And the lexical form is agape.
Okay.
Oh.
So going back to that up there, when we're talking about this case, we actually have two of these that are used in here. We have prophets of God. That is, they're either probably, and that may be a genitive, they're prophets that belong to God, or it could be an ablative, could be prophets sent from God. Okay, so those are both possibilities. Then we come to our second clause, and we have, and you are angels of love. Again, maybe of love is talking about what they're characterized by. Maybe love is their motivation, or maybe love is what they're communicating. Okay, did I say that twice?
No.
Okay, okay. In my brain, it got all jumbled up. So there's different ways of handling, but both of those are genitive, and they're both modifying the nominative nouns in both cases. Okay, I'll take number 9, top of page 69 here, down here on this one. And it says, I'm gonna go read it in Greek literally to start with. It says, the.
No,
Read it in Greek
Read
first.
it in Greek.
Oh,
first.
I'm sorry. Yeah, thank you. Hamen kurias pistas estin hoi de akloi isin paniroi. The, on the one hand, Lord, faithful is, but, or excuse me, but crowd, they are evil. Or to put it in English, on the one hand, the Lord is faithful, but the crowds are evil.
I'm the one. I don't like this.
Mm,
That's
So
that's
always,
just the way I am accustomed to translate it.
sure.
I don't think that that's exactly the way the book does it, because that's kind of
I didn't
a little bit
look.
old English.
I didn't look, but I also, yeah. Thanks looking. So I'm not.
No, I would another way to handle that would be to say, here the Lord is faithful, but the crowd is evil. So it's like, look at this first and then look at this. Or we could say, first the Lord is evil, but the crowd is. So it's, or you're
Lord
looking
is
up.
faithful, but the crowds are evil.
Yeah, see, they're just leaving it untranslated. And I always translate it because I think there's a reason that that word is included there. And I think it has some significance in trying to make a contrast. On one hand, this, but on the other hand, this. That's why I'm doing that. And if there's a better way to communicate on one hand and on the other hand, I'm certainly open to suggestions, because I realize we still say that in English, modern English, but it may be not as common. A. What use is the adjective pistos in? What use is the adjective pistos in? So the Lord is faithful. It is predicative. Okay. And how about paniroi? It also is predicative. Okay. They also, both of them are kind of, and they're both functioning as predicate adjectives in that way, because they're attributing the Lord is faithful. So yeah, predicate is right though. Are the verbs estin and eisen necessary in this sentence? Why or why not?
No, it would be implied with the predicate use.
That's right. So when we have them, it's just drawing out more emphasis. B, how can you be sure that akloi is the subject of isin and that paniroi is the predicate nominative? So first of all, so they're basically asking, how do you know that akloi is subject, paniroi is predicate nominative? How do you know which is which? No.
So akloi matches in number with isin.
And so does paniroi.
And paniroi matches.
There's another rule that we follow when we have two nominative nouns or adjectives, to know which one is the subject and which one's the predicate nominative. You look
I could see the page.
which one has a
Definite article.
definite article. Yeah, definite article. Good reference first to remember that, to go back and check yourself on, is John 1:1, last phrase. And the word was God, because literally it says God was the word. It's literally the Greek in the order, but it's the word, or the word was God. because they're both predicate nominatives in that case.
Okay, don't go anymore.
What?
I think so. I mean, I understand that okay. Let's pretend that the day is not there. So it would just be Hoi, Akoi, Ice, and Poneroy. The crowd is evil. So in this one, maybe the question feels confusing because the word order in the Greek is the same as what we would have it be in the English. So it feels a little bit like a trick question.
Yeah, but it's not a trick question in this case. It's pretty straightforward. Akloi is the
Wow.
There, we got it. Okay.
Akloi is the subject, and it is the subject because it has the definite article, and Poneroy does not have the definite article because they're both in the plural nominative case, so they both agree with Ison. They have to, for one to be the subject and one to be a predicate nominative. Remember, the predicate nominative and the subject have to agree in number and case. They both have to be nominatives.
Yeah, I think I might have been asleep while I was doing these. I don't know. Okay.
Are we ready?
Yep.
Move on to C.
Yep.
Why does Estin have a movable nu in this sentence?
From what I could find in the book, sometimes they just put it in there.
Just
That-
mess
that-
with us.
Partly true, but the other reason is it precedes.
Consonant.
No, it does not. Estin, not
Oh, I'm
Ison,
sorry.
not Ison, but Estin,
Oh, are you kidding me? Because there's a vowel.
because it precedes
Even though there's
a
a
word with a
even
vowel.
there.
Even though there's
Okay. I was
So
Oh,
S-
because
so-
they didn't have.
Because remember, if you would have read this sentence in original Greek,
Okay.
yeah, if you would have read this sentence in the original Greek, Estin and Oi would have been just back to back, just right up against
I'm
each
just
other.
wondering right now if we've learned anything at all in the last 4 months.
I'm not saying anything. I'm not saying anything. Hey, we all have our days.
Okay.
Hey, I read my Greek Testament every day, and I can guarantee you there are days when I'm reading it that I'm going to hit something and I'm like, what in the world is that? And you sit and I stare at it and mess with it, and then I break down and click on my computer, my tablet, whatever, and look it up. And then I'm like, I hit myself on the forehead. It's like, oh, I know that.
I know
I've
that
known that for
now.
years.
Yeah.
Like, why did I get stuck? Yeah, so it happens. It happens. Okay, 10.
I'm pretty sure this one has a typo in it.
Okay.
The sentence.
Oh, yeah, right there. I
Where?
didn't even catch it.
That first word there,
Ah!
is not a word we know.
Adelphos.
This is why I'm not a good editor. I read what's supposed to be there, not what actually is there.
So Adelphos. Mu anabainai. Proston. Wiccan. Kago. Didasco. Auton.
See, now,
Please don't let me.
the book actually they do have the lambda in the book. In the textbook, in the exercise, because these exercises come right out of the textbook. Okay. Okay, so Adelphos. Adelphos is,
The brother.
okay. Mu is, okay.
No, go right ahead.
Of me, Anabainai, he goes down, cross toward Ton Oikon, the house. Kago and I, Didasco, teach Auton, him.
Okay, we had one vocabulary question on that one, and that's the verb in the first clause.
Anabainai.
Yeah. What does ana mean? The preposition
Oh,
ana.
dang it. It's supposed to be up.
Yes.
I even looked it up.
So
My brother goes up toward the house and I teach him.
there we
Up
go.
to the house?
Or to the house, yes. Probably most time we'd say to, but Pross kind of has the idea to come up to face it, in my mind anyway. Okay.
So is that different? Up to face it is different than toward?
I do think sometimes that there is definitely a difference, but there's places where Pross just doesn't, Pross does not have its full emphasis. So.
Okay. Why is moo not accented? Because it's an enclitic to a delphos. So loses its accent. That's bad. I could say so many things, but your
Okay.
face is not good.
Well,
Communication.
I might have done this wrong then. I wrote that it's a proclitic and pronounced in connection with the following verb. And I'm trying to remember if this is a proclitic or an enclitic. So, I could make a mistake.
Well, the reason I chose enclitic is because it's my brother.
Okay.
So it's going along with those words, but
And we would certainly think so, but
it's not.
But right before the exercises, it said the enclitics that you have learned are the unaccented forms of the personal pronoun mu, moi, ma, su, soi, sa. So mu is an unaccented enclitic.
Right.
Okay.
That's it, bro.
I'm the one that messed up writing it down. Okay, because I knew I went back and looked at that. Oh man. Yeah, see. Look at, see, what did I just say? We all, you did it
I'm just
absolutely.
rubbing off over here. Oh my brain fog.
Oh my goodness sakes. Okay, I apologize. So yes, so mu is enclitic in connection with the delphos. Thank you. Okay. I'm glad that we had to look at that because it made me correct it and made me rethink what I was like, what? Okay.
What did cargo come from? Peg knows this one. Chi and ego. Yes.
Yes. So it's a contraction.
Oh.
Chi is and ego is I.
Dissect and parse didasko. So I just crossed out augment again because we still don't know what that means. Right?
That's
Yeah?
correct.
Okay. Part of speech, verb, present tense, active voice, indicative mood, first person singular, lexical form is didasko, stem didask, ending o, connecting vowel omega, subject I.
Okay. I think that was the one. I think that was the one that Joe asked about because he was asking about the augment on that, and it had to do with the word. It was the word teach, and an augment would be an epsilon on the front of that to indicate that it's a secondary tense. But we don't have that here, so this is present tense. So we don't have to worry about that. And again, I told him I'm not exactly for sure why they're introducing that, but he said he liked it because it was forcing him to read ahead.
Oh.
So.
Congratulations.
Okay. Number 11.
Petros legai auto su I ha Christos. Peter says to him, "You are the Christ."
Okay.
We have a note here that legai is a present tense verb that is commonly translated as past tense in this sentence. According to Dana and Manti, the present tense is thus employed when a past event is viewed with the vividness of a present occurrence. This phenomenon is known as the historical present.
And I just always think of it like this: when they translate it as a past tense, I still always think that if you're reading it, this is like a quotation.
Mhm.
And Peter says to him, Peter says, so you have the quotation, but you're looking at it with vividness. So rather than going back saying Peter said, you're going, and Peter says to him this. This is kind of the way
Like
Mark.
you're telling a story.
This is the way Mark moves this very fast-paced gospel that he writes, and he's very excited about this point. So rather than,
Said.
so we do that too.
Mhm.
When we're telling a story about what somebody did, we don't always put it in the past tense.
Right.
We throw a present tense in there for vividness.
Is su necessary in the phrase su I ha Christos? I said no. What is the significance of the presence of su in this phrase? Emphasis.
Okay.
Emphasizing.
And why don't you need it?
Because I is you are
Very good.
all on its own. Why is it impossible for Christos to be the subject of I?
I'm really interested to see. I'm just interested to see how you think through this, because to me it's an interesting question to ask. But
Is it? Why is it impossible? Well, my first question when I read the question was, is it impossible? And then I read the sentence again. And the only thing I could come up with was that because with the presence of the Sioux, like it's really emphasizing that you is the subject.
okay,
You are the
that's true. It also has something to do with the verb, which is directly related to what you were just saying.
I is you are.
You are.
Oh, you are.
You are.
So you is the subject.
Yeah, and you don't then take a separate noun, Christ, and make it then the subject of a you sentence. You could say Christ is, so you could have est in, but I, you are, it doesn't work that way. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Okay.
So because of the I.
Because the verb is a second, because it's a second person verb.
You want to read this one?
Okay.
So that
You want me to read it or?
I'm reading, I guess. Genos gomen tain hadon kai agomen homas eistain ecclesian.
Okay.
I'm not repeating that, I can't.
Okay.
you did fantastic.
Gnosko means
I know.
I know, and gnoskomen would be yeah.
We know.
We know. And then tain hadan is the way. Kai and agomen, we lead you, humas,
Y'all.
ice into
Into
tain ecclesian. I'm trying to get that accent right.
ecclesia.
The church. Okay. We're down here. I'm just trying to mark where we are. Okay, so we're gonna now for some reason it's asking to transliterate the sentence.
I
Maybe
said
to
no.
make us what?
No.
No.
The only reason I think that they do that is just to help you think through how you would pronounce all that word carefully in terms of writing it out. Because that's all transliterating is, right? We all know that.
Writing the English
Just-
letters.
Yep. Just writing in English pronunciation is all you're doing. Why does the second declension noun, hadan, have a feminine article?
Because it's feminine.
It is a feminine noun. That's right.
It's like one of those, like, was it really that easy?
Why? Yeah, why are you asking me that question?
Why does ecclesian have a different ending than its article tain?
Peg knows this one.
Because it's gender.
No.
Okay, I'm gonna give up.
You do not.
Okay, let's go to the stem of the verb. And the stem ends in iota. And we have a rule that if it ends in
Epsilon,
or row, yeah, then you end up going from the A to the the shorter sound. Very good.
but the articles don't change.
But the articles always are going to stay the same.
Good
Okay.
job, Peg.
Yeah. See, we're going to push you. We're going to push you. She's been following me around for so many years that there's so many little things about Greek she knows that she knows more than she wants to give herself credit for. So verse 13, I'll go ahead and read. I pen autois hiesus, ego mi hartas tes zoes. And he
What?
said,
Taste.
taste zoes, taste zoes. He said to them, the Jesus, I am the bread of life. Or Jesus said to them, I am the bread of life. I'm not saying you have to do it that way. I just think it's good to actually translate it out kind of word for word once and then go back and
Do that again.
Jesus said to them, I am the bread of life, or bread of the life. But
So
just
the first time you said he said to them.
he
so-
said to them, the Jesus.
So that's a version of this word that we don't know, and they just put said in there.
Right. But it's he because
I.
it has
I.
every verb has a person.
Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah.
He.
Yeah. So he said to them, the Jesus,
Fair.
which doesn't really make good English sense. So that's why we just drop the he out and say that Jesus said to them.
And then we drop the because that's awkward.
Yeah. And so they're introducing you to I pen, which if you look at the lexical form at the very end of it, this is just a different version of Lego. It's a verb. The subject is Jesus. The stem is "ipe." The tense is second aorist. So this is a place where they've added. You have an augment. The form of the verb is changed from Lego to I pen, but it's that, and that's why it's second aorist here. But that's why it has this augment. They're just introducing this active indicative, so that isn't a lot different than what we've had. And then third singular.
So I did want to ask about this though. So second aorist, the second just means the way that they formed the word, but aorist is like it happened, right?
Aorist is the most common, one of the most common ways of expressing something that's past. But aorist simply just looks at the whole thing as a whole, normally without regard to time. You don't know how long it took. You're looking, this act is here. This is what happened. And sometimes aorists even are used for the present by context.
Sure. And so said it happened, and then active says that it's happening, right?
No,
Voice?
no. Voice is always talking about the relationship of the subject to the verb. So if it was middle,
Oh, right.
if it was middle, Jesus would be saying it for himself
Right.
or to himself. If it was passive, it would be being said to Jesus.
Okay.
And therefore Jesus would not be the subject.
Right. Okay. So active means he's the one who did.
Yeah. Or you could maybe say passively, Jesus was being told. That would, then Jesus could be the subject of a passive verb.
But it's not. It's active.
And it's really, and I'm just going to say it's really fun when you translate passive sentences, because when I run them through Grammarly, when I check my work, it always scolds me because it says passives are unclear English. They always want you to put everything in. I'm like, yeah, but there's passives for a reason. So it's the writer's prerogative. Anyway, and the scriptures do it that way. Second aorist, I was just going to say this about second aorist. You have first aorist and second aorist. First aorist, most of the time, the form is going to look like our word, but it's going to have an augment. So it's going to have an epsilon, usually at the beginning. Second aorist, the word changes. So it's kind of like argo versus went. Okay, so that's normally what happens. And sometimes they even, if you've got good lexicon, sometimes they will even tell you how they think that this was a completely different word at one time from a different root and somehow or another that main word dropped off and this word adapted the root from this one. We've got a few words like that where obviously go and went, something happened there in English. B, why is the subject of I pen the last word in the phrase rather than preceding the verb? Why would you say that is?
Because word order in the Greek tells us what is being emphasized.
Yes. Word order is telling us what's being emphasized. So in this case, it may be that God wants us to have Jesus right next to I am. So there's some emphasis that's being brought out, even if we don't maybe pick out exactly what the nature of that emphasis is. Okay.
Gotcha. Because I was just going with, they put what's being emphasized first, which is he said it.
And that's a very real possibility too. Laying emphasis on the fact that this was said by Jesus, came out of his own mouth. And that's an important thing because these I am statements are very important because there are a lot of modern critics today that are saying Jesus never claimed he was God. And the Bible says otherwise. We have statements where Jesus does say those things. Did you turn the fan on? No, I just turned on the
really
heat.
Cold outside.
But it doesn't seem to be warming up. I'm chilly down here this morning.
21 degrees outside.
But I see the temperature actually says it's 65 now. So it doesn't feel like 69 down here. We're too far away from the vents. I need more hot coffee.
There's only a little bit left over there.
Yes, one of the people that joins our class on YouTube is from Florida. So he probably doesn't, of course, I think is from Pennsylvania. So he probably does have an appreciation for the cold.
He's hearing us say 21 degrees and he's thinking,
Somebody was smart and moved where it's warm. So, although this isn't as bad, my parents had negative 17 the other night. So,
goodness.
and Peggy told me in West Glacier, they had a negative 70 wind chill factor this morning.
That's awful.
Makes this feel balmy. Okay, let's finish this one up. I'm sorry, we digress yakking about the weather. We had to check the thermostat here for those of you that are with us online, wondering what in the world's going on. It's just chilly in the basement, even with the furnace on.
Squirrel.
C, how can you be sure that artos is not the subject of I, me, though the definite article ha is used with the noun? This is very much like the one we had C under number 11. Why is Christos not the subject of I? Why is it a predicate nominative? And the answer is artos is not a first person subject to work with I, me, which is first person verb. Okay, so it can be the predicate nominative, but it cannot be the subject.
I'm sorry. What?
Okay. Artos is a nominative, but it's not a first person word. First person word would be I. So therefore you can't say artos am. That doesn't work. You say I am. I am, yeah. So you don't say artos am.
Gotcha. So why is this, or how can you be sure that artos is not the subject of I, me? I mean, because I, me means I am. So the subject of I, me is I.
That's right. And artos just does not make sense with that. Artos could go with estin, bread is, but you don't say bread am.
Bread am. Bread am.
Yeah.
I mean, you could if you lived in the right part of the country.
I'm sure, yes, we could. Okay. Peggy,
What?
14.
Read that Greek. Penny.
Okay.
Oh, did you just read that?
No, she
Okay.
didn't. She's going to read 14.
Kago de soy lego hati. Su I Petros.
Okay. And kago is a contraction of?
And something.
And I.
And I,
Yes, and
okay.
yeah.
Okay.
I had a really hard time with this one.
Okay. So,
Chicago de soy.
so I also, here's a place where probably a lot of people would leave the de untranslated, but I gave it a temporal sense, which is oftentimes what when I come to these. If I don't have a reason to contrast something, I usually give it a temporal sense, like now. Not as strong as a noon, which would be now, but de. So I would say, now I also. Now I also say to you. Or
Wait, now?
what? That's the way I'm giving it, I have it kind of translated de with a temporal sense.
So
Some people
Does
might,
it also go with the de?
what?
So no, also goes with cargo.
Cargo is the I also, I and
I
I, or we could say, this is one of the reasons that some people would drop the de altogether and just wouldn't even translate
because
it.
it's hard to get it in there.
Right. They would simply
Because-
say, and I.
Yeah, and I.
And I say to you.
I mean, they should have made a triple contraction that was cadego.
But they did not do that. We don't have one of those.
It don't exist.
Okay,
Here we're down.
sorry. Now I also say to you. All right.
Okay.
That
I say to you
means
that
you
you
are
Peter.
Peter.
Okay.
You are Peter.
So like I said, so my English translation, now I also say to you that you are Peter. And if we went back and read it in the context, there an argument could be made, but by contrast, but I also say to you, but I don't think that works as well in this case. Okay, A, what did cargo come from? Again, you already answered this once, Peg.
What?
What does cargo come from?
And
I, kai and ego. In the function in the sentence, let's do a thing. What is kai? It's a
conjunction.
And ego is a
Personal pronoun.
there you go. Personal pronoun. No, that's fine. De is translated into English as the first word of the second phrase of the sentence. Why is de the second word in the Greek phrase kago de soy lego?
It's a post-positive.
Okay.
It doesn't come first.
Never occurs first. Very good.
Because it doesn't happen that way is the answer.
That's right. And C, note that hate is a subordinating conjunction, which means that the clause that it introduces, su I petras, is dependent on the previous clause. Okay, and you have a lot of hotties in there in the New Testament like that, and it's used, and hottie is used frequently.
Your wife is a middle schooler.
Okay, what?
A lot of hotties.
He's like, you don't even get it.
I think I'm getting what you're getting at now. I'm like, what did I? Yeah. Okay. Boy.
It's a really good class today.
Okay. You're going to find it doesn't happen all the time, but you're going to find a lot of times that hottie precedes quotations in this case, or saying, but I say to you, you are that. You're introducing something that a person says. Okay. Not all the time, but it is frequent. Okay, I think we will do 15 as the last one for today. Is that okay? Okay, Robin.
I'll read it. Hoi adelphoi mu eisen en to aflo kai espiusin arto. The brothers of me, they are in the crowd, and they are eating bread. My brothers are in the crowd. And they're eating bread. They are. How does it end? They are. And they are. Okay. Locate Adelphoi. It is a noun. Its function in the sentence is the subject. Nominative case, plural in number, masculine gender. Lexical form is adelphos, and it is a second declension. Not first is what I wrote, but it is a second declension. What is unusual about mu being accented in this sentence? Well, it's the unemphatic form of the word, so usually it is not accented.
That's right. So being accent, that means that it is then
Being emphasized.
yeah. So
But
this is the
why-
emphatic form.
But why? But it's not the emphatic form, because the emphatic form is emu, I thought.
But when it's without the accent, then it's actually bringing it back to an emphatic form. The unaccented form is unemphatic, and
Wait.
emu, and the accented form is emphatic. So it's not proclitic, it's not an enclitic. So it's kind of standing by itself. So there's something that's being said by putting the accent in there. You're laying emphasis to brothers. Mine. So you're really bringing something out about the mine in that case.
All right. Is offload dative, locative, or instrumental? I said locative. And how can you be sure? Because the preposition "n" is in there to help us.
Very good. Okay, that's where we will end. Today's the 11th. Next Tuesday will be,
16th.
pardon me,
Oh, 16th, sorry.
16.
Do
Okay.
you want to go for a walk, Peg?
To my house.
Okay. Start screen share.
That's how I'm feeling today, too.
Thank you for joining us for learning Greek, as well as the hilarity and juvenility
I know you're really
that went on
sorry.
today.
We're
Anyway.
welcome. Class.
Anyway, trust this is helping.